Are you actually bothered by any of these things? No. You're super pleased with your submissive. That's what makes this all a role play. As a quick recap, in case you missed the first two parts of this series, we discussed the role emotions should play in domination, what healthy self-advocacy looks like as a dominant, how to stand your ground when your submissive feigns resistance is part of play, and the importance of creating the fence line for your dynamic and play in part 1. Last week we covered the first 4 techniques to intensify your dominant expression: correction, formality, detail, and precision. So if you missed either of those videos, check out the link in this video's description. But jumping back into it today, standards are the next tool at our disposal. And this is all about presentation and representation. In other words, if you own your submissive, their presentation directly reflects your image.
Lee. When people come into this office, you are a visual representation of my business, and the way you dress is disgusting.
This is basically an emphasis on what you find beautiful and pleasing in presentation.
You're tapping your toe all the time and playing with your hair. You're either going to have to wear a hairnet or stop playing with your hair.
In this scene from Secretary, we see how Mr. Gray demands a higher set of standards from Lee regarding her physical appearance and idiosyncrasies.
And another thing. Do you realize that you are always sniffling?
I'm sniffling?
And what is with your tongue when you're typing?
I'm sorry, I didn't know I sniffled.
Well, you do.
So dominants, consider not only what you want from your submissive, but how you want these actions to look. Do you want their hair or makeup done in a certain way? Do you wish for them to groom their face or body hair in a specific look? Do you wish for them to wear a particular uniform or piece of lingerie? Do you want to smell a particular fragrance on their skin? Do you wish for them to use a flavored lubricant to fully prepare their body for any form of use? Furthermore, what habits or idiosyncrasies would you like to adjust? Sniffling, playing with their hair, picking their nails, cracking their knuckles, breathing with their mouth open? Introduce and reinforce the standards that would give you pleasure and add peace to your dynamic and overall experience of your submissive. So, if we add standards to our protocol, it might sound something like: the submissive should be showered with dry hair wrapped in a low bun and no makeup, wearing their dominant's favorite perfume and nothing else. Starting at 5 p.m., the submissive is to kneel on the tile entryway with their knees 12 inches apart and palms up, keeping their chin up, eyes down, and shoulders flat until the dominant acknowledges them by name. A concept you dominants must understand is that everything your submissive enjoys in kink and DS can and should be used as a reward. And rewards are based on behavior. In other words, the submissive needs to earn play and subspace. In a consensual power exchange dynamic, this must be the structure, unless you have a service top situation in which an authentic power dynamic is really irrelevant at that point. But this is why denial is a powerful tool we can use to increase that power gap. And in my new Dominant Fire bundle, I have 35 examples of how you can tease and deny your submissive and sound hot as fuck doing it. Download it now on patreon.com/LXerotica. But let's say your submissive knows their daily protocol to meet you at the door, but they send you a text as they're about to jump in the shower, requesting to play with a new toy they've been wanting to try. A few ways to erotically deny and build anticipation and arousal could sound like, "We'll see. I'll consider it. If I feel generous later. Tell me how bad you want it. No, do not ask me again." And here's the important thing. Although these answers may disappoint the submissive's sexual or kink arousal, this reply will absolutely intensify their submissive arousal, which is the foundational desire that drives all requests anyway. In other words, even by saying no, you're giving the submissive something they want. And finally, roleplay can do wonders at increasing that power gap and intensifying your dominant fire. And here's something I think many of you dominants need to hear. Roleplay doesn't mean you're being fake. It doesn't make you inauthentic. It doesn't mean that you're not you anymore. None of these. If you're enjoying the roleplay, your natural proclivities will automatically surface. Okay? It's about getting out of your head and allowing yourself to explore other facets of yourself through the role play. And when it comes to this power gap, this can include feigning displeasure, where you and your submissive know it's fake, but it feels real. All right, the submissives are not the only one that can feign resistance or feign displeasure, okay? So again, it's fake, but it feels real. All right, so in our example scenario, this role play might surface during an initial inspection. Your submissive has expressed they want a wider power gap, and they want to experience more of your dominant intensity. So this time, instead of greeting them and breaking them from their position, you might enter silently without acknowledging them and go find a ruler or tape measurer. Let's say when you measure the width of the submissive's knees, you find them to be about 12 inches, but there is just a tiny bit of space between the end of the ruler and their knee. A little over. So you might command them to look at the ruler and tell you what they see. You might pull their chin up with the ruler to force eye contact. You might scold them for their carelessness, that their knees are disobediently wider than instructed. You might express your displeasure and continue the inspection, finding the smallest things to correct. Maybe there's a loose piece of their hair sticking out of the back of the bun, so you yank the whole thing out and tell them how messy it looked. Perhaps you throw the hair tie on the floor and command them to go redo it. And maybe they don't get it to your specifications after 4 attempts. Are you actually bothered by any of these things? No. You're super pleased with your submissive. That's what makes this all a role play. And all of these things, all of these tiny points of correction can be used as part of feigning your displeasure to deliberately widen that erotic power gap you both crave. So I hope these 7 strategies helped open your eyes to the many ways you can easily widen that power gap in your DS dynamic with just a little bit of mindfulness. So comment below and let me know how these strategies have positively impacted your dynamic. And be sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on, because next week we're going to evaluate this discussion from the bottom side of the switch as I share the 7 sneaky ways submissives try to get more dominance out of their dynamic.